Let me just finish out with one more word, and that's the word Kohen. Any of you known someone with that last name? Kohen? It's a pretty common Jewish name. It means priest. So the priests in the Old Testament were the Kohanim. A priest is a Kohen. You know the very first priest that we meet in the Bible, by name anyway? Melchizedek, Genesis chapter 14, who's both a king and a priest in the city of Salem. Melchizedek embodies in this dual office of king and priest exactly what God has destined for every single one of us. In fact, even though the exact terms aren't applied, Adam and Eve are kings and queens and priests. They're royalty, they rule, right? And they also serve and worship as priests do. So they're a king and queen and priest together. Melchizedek is a king and priest. Israel as a nation was a royal priesthood, a kingdom of priests. And then when you get to Psalm 110 and then to the book of Hebrews, Jesus is said to be in the order of Melchizedek because he comes as a king and as a priest. And then do you know what Revelation calls each of you? The same thing. Kings and priests. It's the way I began this. I'm talking to royalty, right? That's who you are. You're kings and you're queens and you're priests. You're royalty and you're intercessors for the world. You're royalty and you're mediating through your prayers and through your witness from the world to God and from God to the world. You have a sacred task. Whatever you do, whatever your vocations are that God has given to you, that's your altar where you serve and sacrifice. My altar is a desk. That's where I do my writing, my podcast, and my videos. And this is an altar right here in which I'm now serving by speaking of Christ to you. If you drive a truck, as I used to, your altar is a diesel engine. If you are a teacher in a classroom, there's your altar. Whatever you do, whatever it might be, either grand or mundane, where you're working as God's representative in this world to witness of Him, to share the love of God, to serve, to sacrifice, that's your altar, where you serve as a priest, and also where you serve as a king or a queen, royalty in this world. And the reason you do that, to kind of bring this full circle, the reason you do that is because you've been recreated in Christ to be one who bears His image in this world. God has blessed you in Christ, bestowed upon you His life and salvation and forgiveness. And He's done this in the promised seed, in the Zerah, in His Son, who has given you this rebirth, this salvation, and this new calling in this world to be royalty. And He's finally done this because He's shed His dam, His blood, in order that you might be purged, that you might be recreated to be a cleansed receptacle of His mercy in this world. And that's 5 Hebrew words that take us through the salvation story from Genesis really to Revelation.